Hi, welcome to a relaxed edition of We Review Races with Billy and Sam. This is the Florianopolis, Brazil 70.3 edition. Without any further ado, I think we just jump right into it.
Yeah, tell us about check-in and transition.
So this is a very well-established race. One of the Ironman employees said it's been going on for more than 20 years. And was not one that they really worried about. So this is an independent race, or this is a
Licensed race.
Licensed race. Thank you. So it is put on by the licensee, but a great race. So
They do. I mean, this company does 6 Ironman events a year
throughout Brazil.
So they know what's up.
Absolutely. So the check-in was inside of the convention center, the local convention center, and it was one of the biggest international check-ins we've had.
Or whatever.
Yeah, tons of vendors, great support. I can't say enough good things about how well that went off. The actual check-in is all the way at the back, so that you get to walk through all of the vendors to get there. You got anything to add for?
I mean, so Brazil's Portuguese, and we speak absolutely zero Portuguese. I mean, we now know obrigado,
yeah,
which means thank you.
Yes,
but
and hola is still hello.
Yeah,
it just is spelled differently.
So but they were. Everybody was super nice to us about that. And at check-in, the lady didn't speak perfect English. My lady didn't speak English at all, but your lady spoke English pretty well.
Yeah, she spoke.
So I just listened to his lady explain everything.
Much better English than I spoke Portuguese. So
So I mean, that ended up being fine.
Yeah, it was no issues. We spoke zero Portuguese and had
we had a blast.
No problems communication. So yeah, certainly don't consider that as a factor in your deciding whether to do this race or not.
Nice stickers, regular stickers for your bike, helmet, regular time and chip. I mean, a regular Ironman wristband. I mean, nothing really different than any regular Ironman race, right?
No, so we stayed at an Airbnb, and there were lots of. We got this fairly last minute, so yeah, places to stay were not an issue that are close to. The race, we used the car to drive from, so we rented a car to get from the airport to the race, and you will need that. But once we were in the race area of Florianopolis, there's zero issues. Yeah, we did not get in the car until we left.
Transition is set up outside of the convention center. It's kind of all like one little campus. The finish line, transition, athlete food, check-in, all that's kind of right around this hotel, which is attached to the convention center. Oceana Hotel, is that what it was?
Sounds good.
Anyway, it was all kind of right there together, and then the swim start was across the street and in the ocean. Transition was so really interesting. It had these plastic kind of, I don't know, 1-inch, 2-inch. Like an elevated floor all the way around the...
Yeah, mats, I guess is what I'd call them.
But it wasn't really a mat because it was
like
plastic.
Hard plastic, kind of like oversized gym like plates or whatever.
Yeah, they all like snap together.
But yes, very, very hard plastic. So having the bike shoes, especially coming out of the swim, having your bike shoes clipped to the bike is a good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of... I came in really late out of the swim, and it was kind of slippery as you were running. So just be careful of that. But the bikes were regular bike racks, bikes going, opposite ways. Were there 6-8 bikes per rack? I didn't notice. They gave you
It felt pretty crowded, although I had a couple of no-shows around me.
Okay, so you had a bike bag and run bag that was all the same bag. It was blue on one side and red on the other. But people set up their stuff around the bike, so I don't really know what the bag was for, other than just kind of keeping your area compact and I mean, it was fine. I didn't have any issues. I mean, by the time I got out of the swim, I was all by myself anyway. So
Yeah, so we got these shirts
at check-in.
At check-in, there was no backpack. Not much. I guess check-in swag.
Yeah, you had the Ironman towel. We didn't bring that because we're now in Spain, and we had to limit our luggage. But there was like the cooling towel.
Yeah, cooling towel. It was a reasonable size, and probably a fairly reasonable. Said Ironman on the towel, but kind of neat colors. So we were a little intrepid, might be the right word, trepidatious about like what the finish line thing was going to be.
I mean, usually you get a hat and a finisher T-shirt
but
or whatever.
Only in the U.S. and internationally, it's very rare to get a hat. I feel like.
Yeah, we got the towel in Australia. And we didn't get a backpack. We were pretty disappointed about that.
Yeah, we did not get a backpack. I have mixed feelings because we got that crappy backpack in Australia. Dubai, we got an amazing backpack. So it's kind of been all over the map with that. We have a lot of backpacks. So at the moment, I'm kind of feeling like we have too many. But if you were getting into this race for the swag, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. So anyway,
just a little FYI.
On to the swim. It's an ocean swim in a triangle. You went out like 450 meters, over 750 meters, back like 620 meters, 30 meters, something like that.
Unless you swim like I do.
Yeah. It was, they had giant buoys. What, 10 feet tall?
Massively tall. No. Significantly. At least 12 15 feet high. They were huge out of the water.
So, but there weren't very many.
No.
They were like three yellows, and then the turn, and then 3 yellows, and then the turn, and then 3 yellows. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess that was 11 total, but we liked to see more. But since they were so big.
They were so big, they were easy to sight off of. I liked that a lot.
As you were coming back in, I ended up sighting off the giant building.
The Red Bull, yeah, there was the Red Bull thing too.
I didn't even really see that. It was glare-ish. I mean, the sun wasn't in your eyes. The sun was
so
in your eyes.
You were swimming out into the sun. So I mean, it's triangle. So you were going to hit the sun one way or another, and so at least there was only the one leg, and the sun's low in the sky.
Yeah, if you're a good swimmer, go ahead and start in the beginning because the water was a little bit calmer in the beginning too. So we met Sergio, a guy that works for the company that put on the race, and he is an excellent salesperson. So we're in transition. He tells us that the bike is just like riding on carpet.
Yeah.
And I'm in transition right before swim. He's like, "Oh, the water this morning is glass," which was true. Because, I mean, the day before it was really choppy.
It was.
And we get out there and the water is glass, but then as soon as the sun comes up, it starts getting a little bit more choppy. I didn't notice a strong current any which way, but my swim time was slower than it should have been. So I don't know what that was, other than, I mean, I guess I could have just gotten slower in the swim, but it took me a little bit longer than I thought that it should for the swim. Just a couple of minutes, maybe 3 minutes longer than I thought that it should. But the water was cool, wetsuit legal. I did get bumped several times of people. I had one person hit me 3 times in a row. I'm like, dude, move over. Had one person kind of swimming in a zigzag, and every time they came in zigzag, they'd hit me. So
I hate when that happens.
Yeah,
right? Somebody's swimming in a straight line and somebody's zigzagging, but whoever is doing the zigzagging is staying right
at the same pace.
At the same pace as the person going straight.
Yeah, so they're going further.
Oh,
doing the
man.
Same pace. But I was in the back with, relatively slower swimmers. This is a South American race, and they are fit and they are prepared. So when you get in the water, it's self-seating time.
Yeah.
Be honest, because they are too, and you're going to get swam over if you get up near the front. How was it for you? I mean, so it was pretty crowded getting into the thing.
Yeah, we got separated in the chute we came in a little later. I this is a good flip-flop race, or
bring some
transition
slides.
is a fair distance from the beach, and so having the I used like the hotel, toss away slippers, to be able to walk out there was recommended. We came into transition a little late, so into swim start late, so we were kind of swimming ahead or trying to get into the proper place. And so we got separated somewhere, but I had no issues getting swam over. So whatever I nailed wherever I was supposed to be.
That last leg, I swam on the inside of the buoys as opposed to the outside, and it was much better. So I don't know if that made any difference on the way out or the way over, because I was on the outside on the way out and over, but on the inside on the way back, that was fine. It's ocean and there were waves, so coming in there were some waves as you exited, so just be aware of that. You might get tumbled. You get out of the swim, you run a fair distance through kind of a little alleyway to get through some buildings to get to the main road. You get to the road, you turn on the road, and then you turn into another little side street to get to the hotel to get to transition. It's a little bit of a jog, maybe 250 meters, 400 meters.
Yeah, I'd say I'm with you. Somewhere 400 meters. Okay. It's a little ways, and most of it's probably not, as the crow flies, it's probably not but 200 meters, but you've got to zigzag a bunch. But you get to transition, grab your bike, and you're out on the bike. And
so that bike out and the bike in are exactly the same arch. And the lowest numbers are furthest away from the arch. The highest numbers are closest to the arch.
Yes.
So usually it's the opposite of that in most races. But I lucked out. Sam had a low number and I had a high number. We don't know how that happened. But for whatever reason, that's how it worked out. Because we both signed up on the same day.
Yeah.
And the numbers were pre-assigned. So it wasn't like when you check in. this is just luck of the draw thing. I don't know how you get a low number versus a high number.
No time.
But it worked out good for me because I was pretty close to the arch both ways. Sam was pretty far away.
So he was absolutely right. The roads are really, really good.
I wouldn't say carpet. There were a couple of surprise bumps that if you were in an arrow, you were kind of like, ooh, I wish I wasn't an arrow for that.
Yeah, I feel like Europe is probably sets the bar for roads. And then you have kind of the next tier is, I'm going to say Georgia, Florida roads, and then it goes down from there, and Texas is somewhere right above Hades. Then you have international, anytime you're on an island, the roads are just terrible. So we were coming into Brazil, so South American country, and Florianopolis is an island, so I was expecting rough roads, and I would call these way, way better than expected.
Yeah, we did Napa the week before, and Napa roads were awful,
terrible.
So, yeah, anything was going to be an upgrade, but these were really
good
roads, definitely above average.
I'd put them on the Georgia, Florida level as far as the roads were concerned. You always are going to have some spots in 56 miles, and there was some. Well, one of the turnarounds. Right, we came through this is a very strange course. I'm not going to call it out and back because it had some spars to it.
It was technically out and back, but it was not the out and back that you think that it was going to be. We did it in race stories, but you go through a tunnel.
Yeah.
And then you kind of wander around in there and then go back through the tunnel the other way, which was pretty cool. It was the first tunnel we ever done.
I've never done a tunnel, like a under the mountain tunnel, so I was super excited to see we weren't going over the mountain. Yeah. This is a hilly race. I would not call it rolling hills. I would call it actual hills. It didn't have that much elevation, according to Ironman, and so none of the hills were out of reach.
Two big climbs each way, right? Because since it was out and back, you did the same big hills twice. My bike, the derailleur hanger got bent in transit, and so I ended up losing my easiest gear, And while I would have preferred to have the easiest gear, it
wasn't
a deal breaker.
This was not. I mean, we'd done Argentina a few weeks before, and the hill up to the dam for that one was really tough. None of these felt like that. I wouldn't be scared of these hills. It was a very good ride. You had 3 aid stations or 4?
5.
5.
There were at least 5.
Sorry, 5 aid stations.
Yeah.
Yes, because you
every 10 miles basically.
Yeah, plenty of aid stations. They did have the Brazil. The bottles are not very big that they were handing out, but they were Ironman logo and said Brazil on them, so I got a bunch. But so you had water, Powerade, but yeah, tons of aid stations. You hit that first aid station right around mile 12? We decided.
Yeah, I think it was like mile 10.
Mile 10, and then it was on a road that then they just flipped it to the other side. So on your way back in, you hit that same aid station.
Right, that was your first. That same aid station was your first and last aid station. So just kind of know that, and it was like I think mile 10. So you have 10 miles when you hit it again. You were about 10 miles from the finish.
So yeah, plenty of aid on the bike. It was interesting. After you went through that tunnel, we had a turnaround. They had paved new concrete.
Yeah, they put that just for that race.
Just for us for a turnaround. Yeah. So I can tell that the city really appreciated having us there because they were clearly doing road work.
Yep.
This is a fantastic bike.
That particular road, it was new pavement, and then it was a turnaround one way, and you did a U-turn. There were
lots of U-turns.
Maybe 6. I don't. It was a bunch, and it was. I mean,
yeah.
So it's probably not going to be a PR bike for anybody. But on that one U-turn, the inside of the U-turn, they had, literally put down new concrete just for this. You could tell it was just for this race, and then the outside of it was pavement
and coming back.
Yeah.
So generally, your U-turns were in a 3-lane wide highway. So plenty of space. I only came out of my pedal on one of them that I felt was a little tight. Usually we hate on U-turns. They certainly don't help for PRs, but this one there was plenty of space to be able to get around on the U-turn. So came back in on the bike to transition. Same T1, T2 are in the same spot. So dropped the bike off and then headed out on the run. What you got?
All right, on the run, you come out of transition, and pretty much the swim chute is what you're running out of. The same swim chute that you came in on, you're running out of, and you get on that road that kind of runs along the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Fair number of U-turns on the run too. It was a 3-loop course. You go down. It's through the beach town, flat.
Yes,
super flat.
Very flat.
You're basically just winding around.
Yes.
For whatever reason, the sun just beat on me in that race, and it wasn't that hot. Although I think it did get into the low 90s, which we were thinking that it was going to be in the low 80s. So that's a big difference. But anyway, plenty of aid stations. As you're going out the swim chute and you turn on that road, tons of spectators, which is awesome, except for it's a 3-loop course, and on that first loop, tons of athletes, and it is super tight and super crowded for the first mile and a half of the run.
Yes.
Enough to where I felt like I usually do a run-walk cadence, and I didn't feel like I could walk. I feel like I had to figure out a pace that I could do where I could run the whole way. Now, second lap, better, because some of the spectators had cleared out from the people. Because people were finishing as we're starting the run, and then third lap was awesome because I was running out there by myself. But you go out, you do, basically you're just winding through the town and different things. Not very much shade, a little bit of shade, but flat, plenty of aid stations. They had ice, and they had these giant, like tubs. Yeah, I would call them like a cow trough or whatever, filled with these little plastic cups that had the metal top.
Like aluminum foil top,
which was perfect because you could grab a couple of them, you poke a hole in it with your finger, and you could drink whatever you wanted, and then toss it, and then you could have another one if you wanted to carry it with you or dump it on you. the ice just in the trough, you could just go through with your hand and grab whatever ice that you wanted out of the trough. So I mean, I don't know that it could have been any more well supported. I mean, the Ironman employee was correct. They knew exactly how to run these races, and they did a phenomenal job of the support, the volunteers. I would have preferred maybe a 2-loop run course just to kind of spread everybody out. But, you know, to the people who want the spectators,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really spectator-friendly run.
This is a very spectator-friendly run.
So I don't know. You got anything to add on the run?
Yeah, so he's exactly right. The cups were amazing because they were cold. So the very first loop, I noticed they were getting low on ice, and I was kind of worried we were going to have a long day. But it was restocked by the time every aid station I hit had ice the whole time, and like you said, we're at the back of the pack. So you know.
Yeah, and I mean, in America, in the U.S., we're in the middle of the pack.
Yes.
In foreign countries, we're at the back. Very back.
So, you know, we're talking about that. You know, races in foreign countries are just smaller than they are in America. You know, with exceptions, but, you know, even Buffalo Springs is one of the smaller Ironman races, and it's 1,100 people. And for some of those internationals, that's a big Ironman race. So, you know, it's just you know, I don't know what that difference is, but if you're looking for a challenge, international races are certainly good at providing that level of competition that if you're looking for that challenge. Of course, you know, I haven't seen the front of an American Ironman course either, so, you know, hey, you can be challenged anywhere you'd like. But, yeah, the run course was phenomenally supported. There was definitely little to no shade. But you can't say enough. So
I think there were 4 aid stations on the course, which means that you hit them 12 times. So about every mile or so, between every 2K ish.
Yes.
So that kind of gave you an idea of where you're going to hit the aid stations. And I mean, you get to know exactly where they are around which curve it's going to be. You hit it 3 times. So yeah.
Yeah, so finish line.
Yeah, so the finish line, you come in off the finish line, you go up that same swim chute again. So
yeah, this is through, you basically go through transition, and then you're still not there. It's not at the end of transition, it's further.
Yeah, I mean, know on your watch that it's 13.1, and so when you turn off of the main road, you're not there. It does take you, I mean, couple more minutes to get to where you're going. But regular, you know, big Ironman chute, it does have the up and flat and then over at the very finish line itself. That's the hill. There's no other hill in the whole place.
Oh, yeah, it is super flat. Yeah, I call it close to Maryland flat.
And that's, I mean, people are lining the chute and cheering you on. I mean, even at the ends, people were lining and cheering. You go through, you get a medal. So this is the medal.
Pretty cool.
And